Clarence Thomas is an American lawyer and jurist who has served since 1991 as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. President George H.W. Bush nominated him to succeed Thurgood Marshall. Born June 23, 1948, age 76 years. Pinpoint, Montgomery, Georgia. Spouse, Virginia Thomas, M. 1987, Kathy Ambush, M. 1971 to 1984. Education, Yale Law School, 1974. See more. Children, Jamal Adine Thomas. Awards, Francis Boyer Award. Height, 5'9". Parents, Leola Williams, M.C. Thomas. Early life. Thomas was born on June 23, 1948, in his parents' wooden shack in Pinpoint, Georgia. Pinpoint was a small community near Savannah founded by freedmen in the 1880s. He was the second of 3 children of M.C. Thomas, a farm worker, and Leola Williams. Williams had been born out of wedlock. After her mother's death, she was sent from Liberty County, Georgia, to live with an aunt in Pinpoint. The family were descendants of enslaved people and spoke Gullah as a first language. Thomas's earliest known ancestors were slaves named Sandy and Peggy, who were born in the late 18th century and owned by wealthy planter Josiah Wilson of Liberty County. Thomas's older sister, Emma, was born in 1946, and his younger brother, Myers, in 1949. Upon becoming pregnant with Thomas's older sister, Leola was expelled from her Baptist church and dropped out of high school after the 10th grade. Her father ordered her to marry MC in January 1947. After 3 years of marriage, MC sued for divorce, claiming that Leola neglected the children, and a judge granted the request in March 1951. After the divorce, MC moved to Savannah and later Pennsylvania, visiting his children only once. Leola went to work as a maid in Savannah during the week and returned to Pinpoint on the weekends. Custody of the children was awarded to Leola's aunt. When her aunt's house burned down in 1955, Leola took her children to live with her in the room she rented in a tenement with an outdoor toilet in Savannah, leaving her daughter with the aunt in Pinpoint. She asked her father, Myers Anderson, for help. He initially refused but agreed after his wife threatened to throw him out. Thomas and his brother went to live with Anderson, his maternal grandfather, in 1955 and experienced amenities such as indoor plumbing and regular meals for the first time. Despite having little formal education, Anderson had built a successful business delivering coal, oil, and ice. When racial unrest led to widespread protest and marches in Savannah from 1960 to 1963, Anderson used his wealth to bail out demonstrators and took his grandchildren to meetings promoted by the NAACP. Thomas has described his grandfather as the person who has influenced his life the most. Personal life. Family. In 1971, Thomas married Kathy Grace Ambush. The couple had one child, Jamal Adine, born in 1973, who is Thomas's sole child. Thomas and his first wife separated in 1981 and divorced in 1984. In 1987, Thomas married Virginia Lamp, a lobbyist and aide to U.S. Representative Dick Armey. In 1997, they took in Thomas's 6-year-old great-nephew, Mark Martin Jr., who had lived with his mother in Savannah public housing. Since 1999, Thomas and his wife have traveled across the U.S. in a motorcoach between court terms. Virginia Ginny Thomas has remained active in conservative politics, serving as a consultant to the Heritage Foundation and as founder and president of Liberty Central. In 2011, she stepped down from Liberty Central to open a conservative lobbying firm, touting her experience and connections, meeting with newly elected Republican representatives and calling herself an ambassador to the Tea Party. Also in 2011, 74 Democratic members of the House of Representatives wrote that Justice Thomas should recuse himself on cases regarding the Affordable Care Act because of appearance of a conflict of interest based on his wife's work. The Washington Post reported in February 2021 that Ginny Thomas apologized to a group of Thomas's former clerks on the email listserv Thomas Clerk World for her role in contributing to a rift relating to pro-Trump postings and former Thomas clerk John Eastman, who spoke at the rally and represented Trump in some of his failed lawsuits filed to overturn the election results. In March 2022, texts between Ginny Thomas and Trump's chief of staff Mark Meadows from 2020 were turned over to the Select Committee on the January 6th attack. The texts show Ginny Thomas repeatedly urging Meadows to overturn the election results and repeating conspiracy theories about ballot fraud. In response, 24 Democratic members of the House of Representatives and the Senate demanded that Thomas recuse himself from cases related to efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and the January 6th attack at the U.S. Capitol on the grounds that Ginny Thomas's involvement in such efforts raised questions about his impartiality. An April 2022 Quinnipiac poll found that 52% of Americans agreed that, in light of Ginny Thomas's texts about overturning the results of the 2020 presidential election, Thomas should have recused himself from related cases. Religion. Thomas was reconciled to the Catholic Church in the mid-1990s. In his autobiography, he criticized the church for failing to grapple with racism in the 1960s during the civil rights movement, saying it was not so adamant about ending racism then as it is about ending abortion now. As of 2021, Thomas is one of 14 practicing Catholic justices in the court's history and one of 6 currently serving, along with Alito, Kavanaugh, Roberts, Sotomayor, and Barrett.